which way do you want to go now? Maybe we start with, or maybe we continue with LAT. And kind of just talk
Sure.
about what might be the best team in the league. A team that is right up there with Carolina at the top of the standings. LAT now 4-0 to start the season, which quite quite expected, I think, for most of us. Granted, they have played a few tougher teams, but and have been tested a little bit. But I think we generally thought with the talent of this team that they were capable of winning these first four matches, and they have looked really, really impressive. I think they might be the only team where every player has a 1.0 KD or better so far this season, but they have looked incredible, especially in hardpoint. They are now 7-1 in hardpoint. I mean, they're. I think we all expected them to be good. Maybe they have been better. Are they? Would you say that they're the best team in the league to this point, or do you have anybody above them at this point?
No, I think right now you got to stick with LAT as the top team. Like most people had, you know, the three team league or however you want to phrase it. Most people were looking at LAT, Optic, and Phase in no particular order there as the top rated teams coming into the season on paper. Obviously, Phase hasn't lived up to that early on, and Optic had just one small hiccup with the loss to Boston, but then obviously a much bigger situation where it's now a different roster with no Pred and Hook in the picture. So I think, just based on that, like if you had LAT ranked highly early on and they're undefeated, there's no reason to knock them off that pedestal until we are given a reason or have something to criticize about them. Um, so yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say they're top dogs right now. I will say just about their matches in particular this week, that first matchup in the Battle of LAG was an absolute banger, especially the two hard points were literally separated by 10 points. The first one was 250-241 on Rewind, and then we had a 250-249 banger on Skyline. I found a tweet from Scrap Stream that was posted by Spawn Up GG on Twitter where he compared Skyline to Bokage, and that was tweeted the day before this 250 to 249 showdown on Skyline, where the quote is, "It's like Bokage. Who the fuck wants to play Bokage? It's the worst map ever." And then they, of course, just naturally have a 1 point game the following day. So I thought that was kind of funny. Me personally, Skyline was actually, I was just a little surprised because I feel like Skyline, at least in pubs for multiplayer, is a very exciting map. It felt like it wasn't necessarily too small, but because there's in the pub rotation, there's like Babylon and um, the map with the hangar that I'm already forgetting the name of because I've been playing too much zombies. But there are much smaller maps, so Skyline didn't feel as small, but maybe like just in terms of the CDL and ranked map pool, like Skyline is one of those smaller maps and more bocage esque. Um, but either way, I mean, there were definitely some teams during Vanguard who didn't like bocage and avoided playing it. I know LAT, like I'm pretty sure that was their auto veto at champs, and they ended up winning champs. Um, but from a viewer's perspective, Bocage was like pure entertainment. There was just a ton of kills being dropped, and I feel like you early on we get a 250, 249 banger like this one. Like I think at least from a fan perspective, that could be exciting to see going on. Maybe from the player side of things, they're like, this is getting tiring, and maybe we'll see Skyline like slowly not played as much or something. But I hope to see more of that just because I do like that map, and I think it could lead to more exciting moments and just frantic endings and stuff like that in this showdown here. But yeah, so I mean that was kind of surprising. I know we historically had talked about it. LAG just in overall having a 9-3 record against LA Thieves in the Battle of LA heading into this one. So now
Mhm.
it's 9-4 after LAT won on Friday. But those hard points in particular were really close, and I think that was surprising for everybody probably watching, despite anybody who was just like praying on the LAG Battle of LA magic to continue. Um, and then we had the last match today against Minnesota, which Minnesota was a team who um, came out hot and won a couple game fives and uh, probably had a better start than some people expected. And they for to give them credit here too, like they played tough. In the hard points again for LATs, like we said, LATs has been winning the hard points early on in the season, but they haven't necessarily been total blowouts. There was 100 point. I think they had 200 point clubs in the first week, but this week definitely didn't have just the same lopsided blowouts. But they're still getting the job done in hardpoint, which is the most important thing at the end of the day. But more important for me that stood out in the Minnesota matchup in particular is they win 15 points. On red card hard point to start out the matchup. Then Minnesota responds, taking the search 6-1, and we get a protocol control, which I believe we've only seen twice now. Um, but we get the protocol control, and Minnesota goes up 2-0 in that. So they're one round away from taking a 2-1 series lead against LA Thieves, and the Thieves pull off a reverse sweep into control, take it 3-2, take the following hard point, so they win through the respawns and close out this weekend of matches undefeated. So that was obviously a turning point. We always talk about control being like that swing mode or the map 3, no matter what the mode has been like in Call of Duty being the swing mode. An example right here, very evidently, of just Minnesota was very close to making things even more interesting and changing the narrative a little bit potentially. But at the end of the day, LA Thieves is just a really good team, and they've shown it so far. And I'm looking forward to seeing as much of these guys play as possible, because I think for as much as we're talking about them looking good early on and playing well, like I think this is the team that they realistically can only get better as they play more, and that's got to be a scary notion for the rest of the league.